Let's talk about the riskiest new hire in your law firm, artificial intelligence. Today, we're going to break down how you can transform this incredibly powerful but kind of unpredictable technology from a potential liability into one of your most valuable partners.
Here's the perfect way to think about it. Imagine AI as this brand new expert on your team. It's brilliant, it works at lightning speed, and it speaks with absolute total confidence. The only catch? Well, it can be spectacularly wrong. The key isn't to fire this expert, it's to challenge them before you trust them.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on this untested expert problem. Then, we'll see how your biggest advantage is something you already have. We'll walk through 5 specific techniques to cross-examine your AI, roll them into a simple protocol, and then see how this turns AI into a genuine force multiplier for your practice.
All right, let's dive right into the problem. Lawyers are finding out about AI hallucinations, which is really just a fancy way of saying the AI just makes stuff up, and they're learning about it the hard way. And we're not talking about small typos. These are fabrications that are having some pretty serious professional consequences.
And look, this is not some hypothetical once-in-a-blue-moon problem. A legal scholar named Damien Charlatan has already cataloged nearly 700 cases around the world where AI hallucinations have popped up in legal proceedings. This is happening right now, in real courtrooms.
The real-world stakes here are just incredibly high. In Mata versus Avianca, a lawyer got sanctioned because their brief was full of totally made-up, phantom cases. Then, in Park versus Kim, the Second Circuit just flat-out dismissed an appeal because it was built on AI-generated citations that didn't even exist. The courts are sending a really clear message. You, the lawyer, are responsible, not the machine.
But here's the good news. The solution doesn't mean you have to go out and become a software engineer. Nope. It actually relies on a framework you already know inside and out. It's just about applying your core legal skills to a brand new tool.
The whole idea really boils down to this: the difference between a consulting expert and a testifying expert, right? With a consulting expert, it's all private. You're exploring ideas, stress testing theories, mistakes are totally fine. But a testifying expert? Oh, that's different. Their work has to be flawless, public, and ready to stand up to some intense scrutiny.
And this is the critical shift in your mindset. Your AI always starts as your private consulting expert. But the very moment you copy and paste its work into a brief or a client email, you have just promoted it to testifying expert. And from that point on, you better be ready to defend its work as if it were your own.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? Let's get into the practical toolkit. We're going to apply the same principles of cross-examination to your AI right there at your desk long before its work ever sees the light of day.
Now, these 5 techniques, they don't require any special tech skills. They're all about using that skeptical, analytical thinking that's the absolute foundation of being a lawyer, forcing the AI to show its work, argue against itself, and prove that it's actually consistent. First up, you have to ask for the basis. Don't just take that polished final answer it gives you. Prompt it with, "Walk me through your reasoning step by step." This forces it to build what you can think of as a reasoning ladder, letting you inspect each and every rung for weak spots instead of just blindly trusting the conclusion. Next, you have got to directly probe for uncertainty. See, AI models are basically trained to sound confident, even when they're just guessing. So you have to break that habit by asking really pointed questions like, what do you not know that might affect this conclusion? Or even better, which part of your reasoning is weakest? This forces the AI to admit what it doesn't know. Technique 3 is a classic lawyer's move. Make the AI argue against itself. AI has a tendency to be a bit of a sycophant. It just wants to agree with you. So give it a new job, opposing counsel. Tell it, give me the strongest possible argument against your conclusion. This is how you find the holes in your own arguments before anyone else does.
Fourth, you've got to test for internal consistency. You see, hallucinations are often, well, they're brittle. They just fall apart under a little pressure. Real reasoning is sturdy, so ask the AI to restate your answer using a different structure. If that new answer suddenly contradicts the first one, you know the foundation is weak. It's like conducting an impeachment right there in your office.
And finally, the 5th and maybe the most important technique, build a verification pathway. And let's be super clear, this isn't extra work that AI created. This is the fundamental diligence that lawyers have always owed their clients and the courts. You still have to read the cases, check the quotes, and verify the claims. Your job is to slow that AI down and do the real work of a lawyer.
Okay, so let's take these 5 techniques and combine them into a simple 3-phase protocol. Honestly, using a consistent process is the absolute best way to prevent mistakes and build a reliable partnership with your AI.
The protocol is super simple. First, you prepare. You give the AI a clear, focused task with a lot of context. Second, you interrogate. You use those 5 cross-examination techniques we just covered to stress test everything it gives you back. And finally, you verify. You check every case, every fact, and every claim before you even think about using it.
And let's be real, that final step isn't just some technical chore. Verification is the very heart of legal practice. Judges aren't asking you to be an engineer, they are asking you to be a diligent lawyer. When they ask what you did to check the AI's work, this protocol is your real, defensible answer.
And what's cool is when you follow this protocol, the entire story around AI just shifts. It stops being about managing a liability and starts being about building a powerful partnership that actually makes you better at what you do.
I mean, this slide perfectly captures the choice you have to make. An uninterrogated AI? It's a huge liability. It produces polished-looking nonsense that puts your reputation right on the line. But a properly cross-examined AI? That becomes a true force multiplier, an idea generator, a logic checker, and a tireless sparring partner that makes your own work better.
So, the ultimate takeaway is this. The solution to AI's biggest flaw isn't more technology. The cure is you. It's that skeptical, adversarial reasoning that lawyers have been honing for centuries. The rule couldn't be simpler. Cross-examine first, and only then rely second.
So we end with a question that brings this all right back to your own practice. Once you've put your AI through a proper cross-examination, it really does transform from an untested consultant into a reliable expert. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?